Aren't you tired of black people bringing race into everything? As a black man who brings race into everything, I am definitely tired. I really want to just talk about movies and shows and games, some current events here and there, and crack my jokes. But unfortunately, we've all been programmed by demons. And whether or not we were able to escape the programming drastically affects how we view life, how we see movies, play video games, how we tell jokes. And those of us who didn't escape the program view the world through a predetermined lens. And in order to shatter that lens, we need to start questioning the thoughts we've been conditioned to believe were our own. What type of thoughts aren't our own? I can't really say, but I'm sure if we just take the time to give it a little thought, we can figure it out together. So let's use our imagination. Once upon a time, thousands of years ago, a group of demon-possessed humans set out on a mission to conquer the world, one region at a time. Demons saw conquest as their destiny. However, demons lack any type of ethics, so betrayal was a common occurrence. As a result, the demons divided into many separate factions. Eventually, one of the demon factions discovered new land to conquer, so they set up their colonies bringing over slaves from previously conquered lands. Then, using the cheap slave labor, the demons built the foundation of a new society. However, in order to maintain power, the demons needed to portray themselves as normal humans. So in order to do that, demons had to tell lies about the slaves, describing them as lesser and inferior, animalistic even. The demons feared that if they didn't, the free humans could start humanizing the enslaved humans and eventually realize that their new society is ruled by demons. The demons built a system that allowed them to hoard power. Now, demons have incredibly weak egos, so they could never know lasting happiness. This is why they constantly pursue power. But the demons are outnumbered, so in order to maintain their power, they needed all the free humans to have faith in their system. So the demons continued lying, claiming that their nation stands for freedom and equal opportunities. And the demons used every method of propaganda to their disposal to convince the humans of this. And it worked. Demon-possessed humans have selfish motivations, and sin is the only source of their happiness. Apart from conquest and senseless destruction, the demons also enjoy sexual taboo as well. Non-consensual acts, stuff with children, stuff with animals, forms of torture, and many other unimaginably disgusting rituals, most of which were performed at elaborate parties. Slaves were often used in these party rituals. Demons can achieve joy without creating victims, because their motivations are selfish. As expected, the demons have no real sense of community. They use fear to inspire loyalty. This is why they betray each other so often. This is obviously opposite of the angel-possessed humans in the world, who have positive dispositions in life and enjoy wholesome things like love, family, and nature. These type of people obviously wouldn't enjoy a sexual encounter if it didn't feel 100% consensual. The reason is because their conscience would never allow them to enjoy hurting an innocent person. These type of people have a strong sense of community and values a type of camaraderie amongst other people, with love and respect being their biggest inspirations for loyalty. So what can the demons do to turn as many of the free humans against the angels? What would you do if you were a demon? Turn the free humans into demons too. Hit them with the good old, we're actually not so different. Show the free humans the benefits to being superior to the enslaved humans. The demons used propaganda to convince the free humans that they were better looking, naturally more virtuous, more favored by God, and biologically more intelligent than the enslaved humans.
The GPT tells you, because you asked it, that your race or ethnic group is not the most intelligent of all of them, and maybe somewhere down the totem pole much further than you had anticipated. You may also discover at the same time that there is a totem pole of racial intelligence, and you're going to go, holy, what? You keep asking it, it's like, this is reality. You're like, oh my, do I just stop trying? What is this? Holy crap, that's a really big deal. It could really bum you out. Now, inevitably, when you guys get in the comments and ask me questions about race and intelligence, here is my view. I 100% acknowledge, because I'm literate, that race is truly a biological construct. It is deep. It pervades almost everything, and it has real-world differences in ability that are complicated. They're overlapping in spectra, but they are nonetheless for sure real, and they affect every single thing about your life on the margins. If you ask me any more questions about that, I won't say anything, because I'm not getting canceled over that shit.
Pussy.
Eamon Begala won the national contest for inventing a new bar of soap designed to fight skin cancer.
Introducing skin treating soap.
This is how Heyman Bekele spent his summer break, working to cure cancer. Did we mention he is only 14 years old?
I wanted to try to find a way for the entire world to be able to have an equitable and accessible form of skin cancer treatment.
It's why he created his new soap, aimed at fighting low-grade skin cancer. Basically, the way it works is the soap replenishes the skin with something called dendritic cells. Those help protect the skin and fight off the cancer.
All it would really take is a basic prescription, and you'd be all on your own. Just apply the soap every couple of days, and you'd slowly start to see progress.
And last, but most certainly not least, the demons convinced them that they were favored by the system. Now, the free humans were willing to get their hands dirty just to make sure the system was functioning as designed. Eventually, the slavery practice ended because the propaganda didn't align with reality. Some free humans started to realize that if the enslaved humans were in fact meant to be slaves, then they wouldn't have kept revolting and escaping so much. So now that slavery ended, the system evolved. Its economy obviously needed the cheap labor, but its society needed the validation from being considered superior. The system turned a lot of the free humans into demons by now. They were addicted to the validation of feeling superior to other humans. And so they would go on to convince themselves of anything just to justify their superiority complex.
It doesn't even look human. Okay, get off our street. You do not belong in Playa Vista.
More time passes, and the descendants of the enslaved humans inherit trauma, mental illness, broken homes, dangerous neighborhoods, and a lack of resources. No therapist office anywhere in sight, but a liquor store on every block. Not enough businesses, so not enough jobs. This is because the demons convinced all the businessmen that any business built in those environments would inevitably get robbed until bankruptcy. So there's never any major construction projects done in those areas. Regardless, as you probably could imagine, the slave descendant humans are very resilient and very imaginative. So a lot of the most transformative ideas came from those poor environments. But the demons can't resist money and power, so they exploit the desperation of some of the slave descendant humans, removing them from their poor environments and teaching them the ways of the demon, effectively framing greatness as something that's represented by one's likeness to demon culture. Dressing their way and talking their way was framed as excellence. Oh, you walk and talk like the demons? You must be smart and trustworthy. With so many years removed from their initial struggle, the slave descendant humans begin to believe in a system that was never built for them in the first place. Forgetting the importance of financial independence and owning their own neighborhoods, and losing sight of the importance of community. The demons have used the media to glorify their sinful ideals for centuries.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
Convincing people for generations that personal wealth is the greatest achievement in life. But that wasn't all. Over the course of several centuries, the demons successfully normalized their own sick pleasures, creating a society of greedy, selfish, violent, cowardly, sex-craved, hateful lunatics. Put simply, a society of demons. It would seem that the angels had a pretty uphill battle to face. By this point, the demon prejudices have been baked into every major piece of the infrastructure of the system. That includes, but is not limited to, education, healthcare, real estate, art, news media, social media, the military, the fire department, the police department, lawmaking, agriculture, and social work. So if you're listening this far, you might be wondering, if the demons built this massive nation of demons already, then why are they still so afraid of the slave descendant humans? Well, that's because the slave descendant humans don't have faith in the system, and they know firsthand that the people that run it are demons. Given their shared experiences in that nation, most of them will realistically come to that conclusion anyway. So of course the demons need to destroy their credibility and portray them as small, stupid criminals that can't be trusted. Portraying the slave descendant humans as unethical monsters created a prejudice within the police force. This allowed them to be over-policed, thus boosting arrest stats and further dragging their reputation through the mud. It's also worth mentioning that some of the slave descendant humans have been indoctrinated by the demon propaganda as well. So now, what can the few angels left do to fight back against the demons? Firstly, they directed their attention to helping undo the conditioning. They did this by pointing certain things out to people, asking them why they think certain things, educating them on overlooked truths, having the hard conversations. The demons fought against these efforts by deplatforming and silencing the angels, labeling them unmarketable or unfit for advertisers. And preventing their message from reaching people. Not that marketability should ever govern whether or not a message gets pushed, but it speaks to the system they're a part of. The demons need the humans distracted so they don't realize how much power they have. So if, for instance, a social media app that they couldn't control became popular, that would be bad for them, especially if large amounts of average people were able to rapidly spread information that wasn't approved and regulated by the demons. Imagine if there were a bunch of angels reaching large audiences. That would cause a lot of deprogramming at once. So naturally, the demons put all their efforts into acquiring and controlling that app, as they did for centuries with every other major industry that would arise. The demons buy their way in, poison its original purpose, and use it as yet another tool to enforce their disgusting worldview. Every industry needs to be a turning cog in this sinful system, even hospitals and fertility clinics. Now, the only thing that can threaten their system built on lies is the truth. If more people knew the truth about their role in the system, more people would know how to free themselves from it, either with a lot of money or none of it. They're either a nomad that doesn't rely on modern amenities, or they're a person that's wealthy enough to beat the system. They buy their freedom or they escape. Nothing new. But if enough people realize this and refuse to participate in the system, it would completely break. What most humans didn't realize was that the demons sold them a dream that only 1% of them would ever achieve, and their tireless pursuit of that dream was what fueled the system. So what do the people do after breaking free of the demonic programming? They can't just quit their jobs, but they can monitor how they spend their money. The demons need to prevent the slave descendant humans from gaining any type of power. The reason is because the slave descendant humans that embrace their identity will automatically oppose the system, the demons that run it, and the humans that help uphold it. And if they ruled the nation, the entire hierarchy that the demons relied on so much would completely crumble. They would most likely build a nation of freedom and fairness for everybody. After all, no one values freedom more than the people who had to fight for it. Not to mention how much slave descendant humans value community. Slave descendant humans value community so much that the demons and their followers often try to dissuade them from helping their family and friends when they achieve wealth, recycling old negative sayings like, "It's lonely at the top," when that was only true for the people without family values or real love in their life. Of course they get rich and cheat on their wives. Of course they get rich and neglect their children. They didn't invest in community at the bottom, so they don't have it at the top. That's not surprising. But what could wealth look like for people with more wholesome values? What could the nation look like if it was ran by people with wholesome values? So investing in that possible future seems like a good start for combating the demon agenda. More slave descendant humans need to rise to positions of power without betraying their values to get there. It's also helpful to invest in the deprogramming process. They'll need to be imaginative, but there's many ways to spread information. So to all the closed-minded people out there who've invested a big piece of their identity into belonging to this nation and don't want to believe that it was always ruled by demons, just understand that we the people decide what it means to be a part of this nation. We don't have to accept what's told to us. So to answer the original question, why do black people bring up race in situations that's not about it? Well, if you were following along, you understand that they're not bringing up anything that isn't already there. They're just pointing it out, which usually annoys the privileged people because they still want to deny just how hateful and demonic this nation actually is. Now, to be fair, sometimes people are just bad at reading situations and don't know what the hell they're talking about. But overall, black people have this race-based way of thinking because we're not afforded the luxury not to. Someone who don't face systemic racism can ignore it pretty easily. But if you know that cops will find any reason to arrest you, even if you're the one that called them, then you move through the country a little differently. Have you been keeping up with current events? No more pretending to be innocent. Of course we oppose the pigs that enforce the system. We oppose the system. If you're trying to ignore it all, then you're actively helping the system flourish. There is no middle ground. This is why when we notice double standards and other more damaging forms of injustice, we point it out so we can wake up the sleeping angels and wake up the sleeping demons. Reveal your true face. Why hide who you support? Why hide what you stand for? The angels of this world don't have to hide and lie. The demons do. So being annoyed by the conversation itself is usually the most common way people reveal themselves as demons. In all honesty, black people were born to destroy this system. Probably because this system was never built for us to exist in it as equals. But we aren't alone. I can't be the only one who noticed that the whole world is rebelling against different factions of the same demons, all at the same time. I mention angels and demons a lot in this, but I do truly believe there's people who walk with the light of God in their hearts, and there's people who walk with the darkness of Satan in their hearts. And it affects how they see the world. Not to get too religious, but I don't actually believe that any of the religions got the details correct. But I think the core concept of like oneness with life and nature is just a really good philosophy to live by. And it feels good, you know? Like when you're about to do something evil, no matter what you've been told, if you give yourself a chance to think, it feels wrong. What is that? Why do we have to ignore our conscience to do evil things? What the hell is a conscience? And why do we have it? You know, it supports my theory that the force that most people would call God is within us and has been like the whole time. Not a vengeful white man in the clouds. I honestly believe that like George Lucas' idea of the force in Star Wars is actually the best theory of what God would be in our reality. But we're not allowed to openly talk about those type of things. So we stopped theorizing about stuff like this a long time ago. So now we just sit quietly while cults use God as an excuse to prey on women and children. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. And if you don't believe in God or the devil or heaven or hell, you can't deny your conscience. Imagine the world we live in if people stop trying to outsmart their conscience and just listen to it, you know? But the day will never come that I stop imagining a better world for us. But that's all.
Same thing goes with women. I don't want to turn 30 and find some 20-year-old 29-year-old woman that I have something in common with. I gotta find my 16-year-old wife. Probably when I turn 30 or something.